Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Trader Minute. It's great to have you on board. Let's wrap this day up. We got about 35 minutes left in the trading day here. And yeah, we're looking at the futures here. And they sold off a little bit here. They're down three. They were up a little bit. They were fairly flat, up a little bit, down a little bit. The last maybe 5 minutes, it's dropped out a little bit. Uh, Down three. The market itself down just under 5 points right now. Technically, nothing big here on the market. Quick run through the positions. Boeing, it's holding its own this last little bit when the market sold off. And all of our positions are off the highs yet, well, off the lows as well. Boeing holding its own up there. You got Qualcomm up from where I saw it a minute ago, down just three points. No bearish action there. And then also with Morgan Stanley, down 11 cents. Still above the 7, so we'll watch this, but it's still above the 7. A close here uh, would be fine. I'd be fine with this. We just wanted to hold the 7 and push higher in the coming days here. So the positions are all holding in there compared to, the market's not rolling over heavy, but it is pulled back here a little bit. If anything, Morgan Stanley's pulled back an extra 5 cents or so. It's been up and down during the day. Okay, just a quick run back of the top three. Run through. We had Las Vegas Sands. It's still a nice looking signal here. Vibe Bull as well as a Trend Rider Bull signal today on some pretty heavy volumes. This is a good looking bullish signal for some possible upside here. And then ADSK, Autodesk. Same thing. It's pulled back slightly from where we saw it. This is a Vibe Bull signal, not a Trend Rider. But you can see a little bit of a ascending triangle, not a ascending triangle. It would be a three methods rising. It's a variation of it. Really, you just want this thing to push up and over 50. It's sold off a little bit, but the signals are still here. It still looks like this thing's ready to set to go higher. If it does sell off back onto the 7, then I'd hesitate. A move at this level up here, it still looks good to me. All right, and one other stock I was looking at today, and this is Harley Davidson. I know we got some Harley riders out there. Initially, it was when I saw this, it was towards the highs of the day here, to just under 70. It's just been kind of a slow boat here underneath 70. I'd like volumes come in to get a break of that 70 level. The higher lows and higher highs are still there, but I just want a little bit more confirmation that that thing's ready to get through that $70 level. Okay, yeah, Deb, if you buy January, just don't hang out too long. If you get a little gain, then I'd take it. I wouldn't hang out too long where they're going to expire next Friday. And I mentioned that. If you go January, it's not going to be a long trade. You're going to be in and out pretty fast. You get a nice pop, and then that's where you go. Plug. Wow. Plug Power. Obviously, some type of news right here. First part of the year. Gapped higher, never really gave a shot to get in. And this is one of those things that can happen. They get a long ways away from the 7, and they just stay there. Yeah, I mean, nice trade. I hope somebody got in that. $1.50. Stock was around maybe $1.75, $1.50, and here it is trading today at $4. Yeah, nice move. Even if you own the stock, you had a double. But at this point, it just look at it on the 7 hour right here. It's dropping below the 7. It's just overextended, really overextended at this point. But yeah, fun chart to look at. Sounds good, Deb. Yeah, Max. No, we're definitely got that in mind with our all of our trades. We got about 10 days left in our positions out there. We're going to watch this, let it play out to tomorrow, and see if we can get a move out of it. But we're not going to stay in it. The big names here when they announce is going to be J.P. Morgan and Wells Fargo. They announce on Tuesday. And I've been saying, if you look at FinViz is stating that they announce on the 13th, I believe. So if I put in Morgan Stanley here, yeah, see, FinViz is saying the 13th, which is Monday, but they're always after the big boys. They're after the J.P. Morgans and Wells Fargo that are typically the two biggest, some of the biggest names out there, names that announce earnings, and they're usually one of the last ones to announce earnings. It would be a Morgan Stanley, one of the smaller ones compared to those big dogs out there. Okay, so yeah, we know that they expire soon, and we're keeping a very close eye on them and holding over the weekend. I don't know if we're going to do that. The big announcements is going to be that could affect these guys is the J.P. Morgans and Wells Fargo on Tuesday. Bank of America, the valuations here suggest this thing move up in the $20 range. So far, all this is bullish consolidation. You know, and really, you see, yesterday it had a bearish engulfing pattern on some decent volume, and it never came into play. All it's doing is consolidating slightly, letting that seven catch up with it. And if we get a move like this where the seven keeps coming up, oops, wrong button. The seven keeps coming up. Sorry about that ugly line. And then yeah, you get a strong push up off the seven. Then you got something. Then you got a nice bullish entry, and the thing's probably set to go to 18 plus if you get that. So just watch it. Right now, it's just consolidating at a higher level, which is a positive for Bank of America. ON Semiconductor, yeah, very strong move. Likely news yesterday or today where you got the big volumes here and a rocket like that. It's just so far away from the seven. If I was in the trade, yeah, congratulations. I couldn't argue getting out, but not being in it, it's got to consolidate before I'd go bullish on this. It's got to come back, let that seven catch up with it, and look to play it up off of that. Nice chart there, Ken. Okay, thanks, Vegas. Yeah, Thinkorswim's got it down for the 17th. Yeah, and that was I think Jill mentioned that this morning. Yeah, yep. Nice, Deb. Unplug. All right, SPX down four. It's about right where it was last time I looked at it, 10 minutes ago or less. Hanging in there as we look over here and look at the futures. They've dropped. They're down three. It's just holding its own right here, right now. But here was the Fed minutes, and I don't know if this sell-off has anything to do with the Fed minutes, but just a lot of volatility. It really didn't do anything, and then just kind of sold off here the last 15 minutes or 10, 15 minutes is all. But as far as the positions, Boeing up 5 cents. It was just flat last time we looked at it. They haven't changed a whole lot since we looked at it. Morgan Stanley, Qualcomm, they're all holding their own right now with this little bit of a sell-off here. Yeah, from the highs down to where it's at now, yeah, the futures have sold off. You could look at that. It's a pretty decent sell, but um, technically, looking at a chart of the day and things like that, it hasn't thrown off anything on the technicals. It's pretty minor. Okay, let's look through some of the top three we saw yesterday. DLPH. It's pulled back a little bit, up 27 cents. Did that change anything? Something to get worried about? No. Volumes are still strong. I'd still look to play this higher. That looks okay. And then the other one was Valero. Now, last time I looked at Valero, it turned positive. Yeah, it's positive. It's a nice looking signal. It's a bull vibe. It's still in the bull vibe trend, and it's just right there as far as the trend right or bull signal as well. So it's just right there. It's a strong looking signal. If I was here, I wouldn't exit. It was pretty nice action today where it was down, never really sold off very big to turn and run positive to run back up at the end of the day. That's a very good positive for Valero. And then Yahoo pulled back. Now this is a gravestone doji here. It's not at that. I mean, it's not that much of a run up, so I don't know if I'd put a whole lot into them. When I see these, it's it ran up for one day and then you get a gravestone. And what gravestones mean? It means short-term weakness. But you got to watch the positioning of them. I'd rather see a gravestone where it's at the top of a pretty decent run upwards. Um, there's some down here, not actually there are two of them right there, but this it's in a downtrend. It kind of runs up. I don't know. It's just that positioning right here. You could say, all right, well, I'm going to get out. It's a gravestone. If you had a little bit of a gain here, you might take it. But it's still in the upper Bollinger Band. I'd still play with the original plan. Put a close around the 7-day moving average, and let that go. One day and you get scared out. Nah, put it around the 7. Let it go, and see what happens with Yahoo. Yeah, the spreads are a little bit high on DLP. It wasn't that bad yesterday. It's like 10, maybe 15 cents at the most. Um, all it means is, to me, I'm always trying to negotiate using limit orders to try to get it at a better price. And you got to do that in and out. But if there's, and I hear that for quite a bit. There's not a lot of trading on it. Does that mean that the stock's not going to move, or does that mean the option prices aren't going to move? Not necessarily. Hundreds, if open interest is in the hundreds, I'm typically fine with that. And a lot of these are in thousands. We trade mostly S&P stocks, and you got lots of options on most of those stocks. But with Delphi, I wouldn't be too worried about it. When I looked at the option, that wasn't that bad. Okay, as far as, I don't know if you're thinking about getting in now, you'd have to reevaluate it. Yeah, the risk could be a little bit higher. Is a little bit more above the 7 there. It's gone an extra day, but it still looks bullish. It may retest the $60 level, but overall, this the strong volume still look bullish to me. And if you look at like AutoZone, what they've done, another strong move. You look at the O'Reillys of the world, not quite as strong as an AutoZone, but still technically it's not a bad signal at all. It's still well in the upper portion of yesterday's big breakout. Lets the 7 catch up with a little bit, and it just more, if anything, it's just a slight stall here on O'Reilly. Okay, but Goodyear Tire. This was from a couple days ago on Monday. It's still running now. If you look at this, you notice it's not a perfect gravestone, but you could call it a falling star pattern. But it's just a little bit of a tiny of a run. If I get that on the day of or something, I'm not going to let that scare me out. And notice wasn't any type of follow through on that at all. Still has the volumes there to suggest this thing's going to keep pushing higher. So Goodyear still looks fine. And we also looked at Facebook on Monday, up 12 cents. This is bullish consolidation. It's not rapidly running back to the 7 and crashing back to the 7. It's just kind of going sideways up there over 57.5. The 7's catching up to it. If anything, this would be one. It's not moving dramatically right out the gate for it if you got into this trade, but it's not giving any bearish signs. If anything, more bullish signs than anything, that 57.5 is likely to break and run higher. Now, if it closes below the 7, then it's time to run. Nice, Paul. Thanks. I love to hear that kind of stuff on my top 3. Okay, Met. I looked at this one. I considered it. It was on my list of stocks. I've got it on my list here. Didn't make my top three because of the sell here into the close. It's likely to run. Yeah, this is. Let me hang on. Let me back out of this and put a vibe and zoom in on it. So it's got the indicators rising. I don't know if you can. That's just off your screen there. There's a MACD. Yeah, you could look at the rate of change rising. You can look at the averages. They're all going up. Volumes, you don't necessarily need them on this entry. I cherry picked a little bit. I put two that had pretty much bullish confirmation they were going to run higher. This is likely to move higher. This is very similar to why I didn't put Google on a couple days ago. And what did Google do? It gapped way over and ran. And that's the danger that I miss of not waiting for a confirmation. So you look at Google, and it looks pretty similar to what we're seeing today on on Met here, but just some bullish consolidation. I was looking at it right there, just right there below 1120. It was still there, and what did it do? It just springboarded over it and missed it. Now at this point, I got to wait and see if it comes back to the 7 and look for it to run higher. So if we go back to Met, similar thing, not identical, right? But it's very similar. Just not breaking out above 54, but this is still considered a bull vibe signal. Just didn't get that confirmation I like to see. Even it closed up in this range over 54. But man, if I was in a trade here and I was long on it, I wouldn't get worried about it unless it starts. If I was in a trade long here, my stop would be right here at Tuesday's low. The 7's just too close. Tuesday low, there's my stop. I might even give it 53. 53 is a past level of resistance for it right there. I might give it that, but really this shows more upside potential than down. My top three, I try to put as many things other than just a vibe entrance because there's 40, 50 vibe signals out there today, bull vibe signals. I always try to cherry pick and put the ones that are showing the most confirmation. Confirmation here would have been a close up here towards the highs over 54. Then it would have gone on my list. So I'm pretty choosy about what goes on their list. Richard, good question. How many strikes in the money do we choose? It depends on how close we are to expiration. If we're going February, usually one, sometimes two. Okay. If we're going January, 7 days left in market days? Two, at least two. If you're going that close to expiration, all right. We'll look at the delta as well, and we'll go through. If we make trades, we're going to go through and try to and determine that risk reward, and look at these and see if the stock goes up. And like the training that I did yesterday. Yeah, if you're trading short term, maybe that's what Deb's doing. Trading short term, you keep a tight stop, and when you get the pop, you just take it. You don't. If you're trading January options, that's how you have to trade right now. You get a nice little pop on it, you get 20, 30, or whatever, and then you get out and you take the gain and move on. You don't want to let those run on you too long, especially going into next week if you're trading Januaries. Yeah, and there's always the lottos, right? A lot of it play the lottos, and we find very near-term options, and you can do really well if you hit those. And it's fun watching you guys trade those. All right, so let's just a quick run over our positions again. Boeing up 18 cents. That's about right where it was. And then also Qualcomm up 11 cents. And then Morgan Stanley down just 4 cents. So they're all coming. It's pulled up a little bit from where we saw it last. And overall, right here, if I was looking at Morgan Stanley, if I wasn't in the trade, looking at Morgan Stanley, what's it doing? Just some bullish consolidation. The 7's catching up with it now. It hasn't dropped down below it. Dropping below it would be short-term weakness that might come here to 31. But right now, holding the 7, It's in an uptrend. Logical next step for this, and it doesn't mean it has to do it, right? It is the market. Logical next step is a push up here off 31.5 as it gets near that 7. Okay? And that's what we'd love to see. That's what I'm at. That's what we're after. Okay. Yeah, we're not going to stay in them that much longer. If you're wondering how much longer we're going to wait on these, but so the next couple days this week, we'll be looking at the positions and looking for exits. And who knows? We might hold some over the weekend, but right now there's no bearish signals on them. They all seem to be working for us at the moment. Okay. Any other stocks you want to look at? Just go ahead and type those in there. Another stock that didn't make my top 3 was Potash. Not that overextended now. It's pulled back a little bit. It's still a very strong signal. This signal right here is it's not a bull vibe or let's go see if it's a trend rider. Not really a trend rider. This is one, and we were looking at this with Jeff today as we were discussing a lot of different stocks and things. The book value here, the fundamentals don't suggest this thing to be too bullish on it. I mean, just to get up and run. Technically, yeah, it could run up into the 35, 36 range, but overall, longer term picture, unless things change and earnings announcements change, I don't think it's going to run that far. Okay. Okay, yeah, Paul and I couldn't argue with all those. And that's what I love about chat rooms. This was brought up earlier too. Is being around a group of people and running ideas past other members, past us. The group combined. What was it called in the book? Hang on a sec. Anyways, it escapes my mind what book it was. It's an old book, but man, it's one of those things where you got obviously true principles when it comes to. Uh, it's killing me the name of that book. Anyways, and it's about business and business practices and self personal development and stuff like that. It's a phenomenal book, and I can't think of it, but that he talked about a focus group, and some of you will probably know what the book is because I said focus group. No, not groupthink. But yeah, where you get a bunch of minds together, and man, people see their own views on all kinds of things. So yeah, we got a strong group here, and I really appreciate everybody's feedback during the day and stuff like that. The Fed minutes today. Let's go look at the market reaction now. No synergy. Now look at the market here, coming back. We're about 3-4 points off the lows. Guys, is the buy the dip crowd back? And one of the guys that I always listen to, and you guys have heard me talk about him. He's kind of I'd love to meet him, and I'd loved to see this guy and Jeff get together and rap. His name's Art Cashin. He's on. He's not. He doesn't work for CNBC. He's a floor trader, and they interview him, once or twice a day on CNBC. And the guy's been on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange for over 40 years. 40 years. The guy knows economics. He knows the cyclicals. He knows. It's awesome. I mean, I love hearing that guy, and I'll try to listen to him about once a day. And he mentioned this yesterday, and about how he thought that yesterday's price action on the S&P, okay, where the market just took off, and it never really pulled back much. Yeah, there was a little dip here or there, but never really pulled back that much. And he thought that might have scared the buy the dippers. That hey, if it's not going to pull back, you know, we might not be able to get into our trades and all these things. And so, yeah, that's one of the guys I always listen to. And maybe that's true. The market's selling off, and now it's being bought back up here in the last little while. There's you can always talk about those things. What actually happens, no one really knows. Qualcomm, there we go, pushing up 21 cents into the close. Now this did this yesterday. When I saw that yesterday, things changed a little bit in my mind technically, where it was up, sold off a little bit, actually went flat or slightly negative yesterday to go up and then jump up into the close a little bit. Positive signal, and it's doing it today. Today went negative a little bit, turns around and runs up towards the end of the latter part of the day. It's very good signals here on Qualcomm. Thanks, River Rat. And thanks for your email. I love hearing from our members and getting to know them a little bit better. And then Boeing up 24 cents. Not much from where we saw it last time. And then Morgan Stanley. Okay, up 5 cents. Las Vegas Sands. Yeah, I really like that setup. Yeah, I just Morgan Stanley here. It was negative a little while, down 10, 11 cents when I first got on the air here. It's gone positive. It's not anything dramatic. It's holding 31.5 again. This would be the third day in a row. It's holding it. The seventh catching up to it. Again, this looks more like probabilities here of a run higher are there. The odds of a run higher from this point are there. And so, we're holding all our positions tonight. And really, it was another not a lot of big gains on the positions, but technically a lot of bullish signals today on all of our positions. Okay, so yeah, things are looking good. Stock I want to look at here is this had a nice signal yesterday. I thought about this one. I might have talked about it. I don't think it was on my runners, but nice signal. And this is the one that didn't break out above that 840. I would have liked it to go above about out of 840 yesterday. Now it's got a little gravestone, but still, I mean, it's for me to that for the gravestone to be more accurate, I would have wanted to see it over here, right up at this level, not after one day up and you get a gravestone. Um, I wouldn't put much heat into that one. Uh, Another one that was pretty decent today is Visa. Yeah, this is the vibe bull signal right here. This could run on us, but it didn't break out above that. But again, you don't necessarily need that break above it. I like to keep those odds there, but this is looked to set higher here. This is another one that's a beautiful setup. Las Vegas Sands, no, I still like that setup. Still like the setup. It's got volumes. It's Trend Rider Bull. It's a vibe bull. The other stocks in the area are running. I still think it's a good looking setup. And the more aggressive traders in the crowd are going to go January and just play a quick pop and then get out. If you want to be a little bit more conservative, maybe play it a little bit longer of a run, a little bit more comfortable than February's is where I'd look. If I went February, I'd probably go the 80s. One strike in the money. And if you're a little bit more conservative, go February, two strikes in the money. It depends on what you want to do, and as far as your own personal preference. I know a lot of you out there like to go deeper in the money. That's fine. That's fine. Go deeper in the money. It's more conservative. Um, but along with more conservative comes less reward, but you can still get some good gains out of it. Okay. So I just want to make a trip around the market here. So Facebook running up a little bit. Yahoo up 20 cents. Yeah, we talked about this one a minute ago. I wouldn't put too much into that gravestone doji. It's one day up and then you get a gravestone. It's still over the seven. If anything, I just don't see much bearishness there on that candle right there. It's rolled over a little bit. It's still up 20 cents. It's holding the new over 41, which was past resistance there. I wouldn't, if I was in it, my stop would be on the 7 at this point, which was the original stop was at 40. And you could move it to the 7. So that's what I would do. I wouldn't exit. Lighter volume stock here. I'm not familiar with this one, but looking at it technically, had a nice strong move over 70 yesterday, and that's a very promising move here for it. Today's action, if anything, bullish. Sold off below 70, coming back up. It's just some bullish consolidation. That 7's catching up with it. It's holding above 70 here. Another push up off 70. It's probably going to 72 to 74. The high there at 74. Strong. There's not a lot of real strong volumes. Yesterday wasn't bad, but up into here, that level, that's in. Look at the strong bottoming volume down here around 64. Lots of strong volume along those levels. So it's got some good support, not too far under it. But if you're not in the trade, if I was in it, I wouldn't get out. If I'm looking to enter, then hang out another day or two and let's see if you get another push up off of 70 or just above 70 and let it get closer to that 7 like that. Yeah, JC. Yeah, those some nice looking stocks. City, yeah, there's a stock went lower and turning positive into the close today. Look at Morgan Stanley. Still, it's holding its own up there. Qualcomm, just one last look through them. Pushing up over the 7 into the close. It's a very promising sign for this position. And Boeing, it was about where it was, up 20 cents. Yeah, there you go, JC. Nice chart. This is a bull vibe signal. It's a ways from the 7. It's maybe 90 cents above it. There's a slight chance of some consolidation here, but overall, it's 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 got the same attributes of this three methods rising pattern. It's not wouldn't be considered one, but it went like 6-7 days, and then you get a push above it and locking in 70. So it pushed over 70, pretty much held the area, and a strong push of it over it today. And it's got strong volumes, which is just off your chart. I try to zoom out there for you. But it's got some pretty strong volumes. Yeah, this looks to run. Let me bring in the trend rider. No, not a trend rider, but a very strong chart technically here. I'd put this up probably a couple dollars beyond, up into the $73 area is where I'd put this one. Okay, but yeah, it's a strong technical setup. Thanks, JC. All right, everybody, we are going to let our positions go. We're going to be back again tomorrow morning and to review everything, the markets, and carry on again tomorrow. Have a great night. Talk to you in the morning. Thanks. Bye-bye.